Oh, you trying to do like the press conference thing, Alex, with the Dasani water and the Powerade?
Are we getting part of that contract, or
Get some of that Coca-Cola money strolling into JOL.
only do yellow Powerade, no red?
Oh, hey, and what's up? Your first thing like caught me off guard. Because it cut off. Um, hey everybody, thanks for joining us. We'll give everybody a second to get in here and get going. You'll see me at some point possibly kind of zone out for a second. I have to flip a commitment for South Florida site since one of my staffers was indisposed. We have the story right. The kid was supposed to announce already, and he's pushed it back. So I'm gonna get a text. But yeah, thanks for jumping on. Let me shoot this out real quick, and then we'll get into some questions, and we'll talk about Gardner-Webb. We'll talk about kind of what's going on. Obviously, it was a little bit of a strange week with the whole thing with Haynes King, and it's and whether he was going to play, what was going on there. And I think Brett Key actually made the right choice. I think he was not planning to do so, but changed his mind late and decided to save Haynes King and start Aaron Philo. So we'll get into it. We'll jump off. Ian was on here like very quickly, so I'll get to his question. And it was good to meet him a couple times. So he's wondering about a 1A, 1B with King and Philo to keep Clemson off guard. So tackle the first part first. It just depends on how healthy Haynes is and how well he's moving and throwing the football. There's nothing wrong with his shoulder, as we kept trying to tell you all last week. He got hit in the hip. And I assume, he has some, whatever that is, the injury, hip point. I don't want to call it hip pointer. I have no idea what it actually is, but it's like a hip injury. It's not anything that's like his shoulder or any of the stuff that he had last year is a totally different injury. And so that's a little bit of a different thing. And it's like, the whole thing, and Brent's figured this out now. They learned it last year the hard way a little bit with Jamal Haynes in particular, is if you keep playing guys, it delays how long they're fully effective. And like Jamal was not fully effective in a lot of games, but didn't really have any choices because of personnel, or Malik for that matter last year with his shoulder. Both of them kind of struggled at times, trying to play through pain, not maybe helping the team in the way they should. So they made a decision to start Aaron Philo. I thought it made sense to me. Like as soon as I saw that Haynes didn't look like he was totally great, it made sense to me. I don't know, Alex, what do you think? You have, from the fan perspective, a lot more skin in the game in this. I like both guys. I like Haynes and Aaron Philo a lot. They're both great kids. Gotten to know Haynes a little bit better just from the time that we'll get to spend together working and doing stuff. But obviously I've got to know Aaron still when he was in high school a little bit. So they're both capable of winning games. I think it's why Brent Key talked about having the best quarterback room in the country, and this is exactly why you do that. It's to build for the future.
I posted that video of Haynes throwing when I first got there yesterday. I didn't know it was going to get so much backlash after the injury report.
No, social media people are upset about something.
But like we said, my point of the video was to show people that his shoulder was not the issue again. So that's kind of what I was going with that. But I like Aaron a lot. I think I know people get touchy about saying Haynes, they should make a role for Aaron, and Haynes should, play a little, give him a series every once in a while or whatever. But I don't think you can go wrong really either way. If they want to play Aaron Philo and make a spot for him out there, but They could do that, and it could be effective. But Haynes is like the senior, like heartbeat leader of the team, so I think they know that that's kind of if he's able to go, he's going to play as much as he can. But Aaron Philo, like I posted in my takeaways yesterday, he's ready like anytime, and which is very hard to do because like a backup quarterback, like if you don't know when you're going to get in, it's hard to kind of stay in a rhythm. And if you're not going to play once every 3 or 4 or 5 weeks, it's very hard for a quarterback to like. But he's shown that he can do it, and he can do it well. He threw for almost 400 yards yesterday, and he even missed some throws that like barely off that would have been even bigger plays. So I don't like to straddle the fence, but I like Haynes and Aaron equally, and I think they're both very capable of leading this team to do very good things. So
Yeah, this is different than last year when they played them kind of down the stretch in some of those games where you brought Haynes in to run the football, and then Aaron would come in and throw the ball. Like that's not the issue. The issue is more of sort of how comfortable is Haynes King with his side and what's going on there with his hip and whatever, versus what happened with versus last year when it was a shoulder thing. And he literally couldn't throw the football. So I think it was I'm not a huge quarterback by committee guy, but I think again, I got blasted for this, but like,
no, not social media.
but if it's not working early on with Haynes, then yeah, I think you go to Philo or vice versa. If you want to try, I can't envision a situation where Haynes King doesn't play and start in this game, just knowing how he is and the competitor he is and how much Brett thinks of him. But I'm just I'm not a big fan of the committee thing, man. I think if you have situational things or you want to give somebody a series, that's fine. I've seen it kind of disrupt things in my career covering football at different levels and not just covering the teams I was covering, but other teams doing it. We saw an example of it actually on Saturday with Gardner-Webb when they switched from the running quarterback. Was that Holmes? Was that the guy's name?
The quarterback was
Or some
Hampton.
Hampton.
Yeah.
Running back was Holmes. Hampton, moving the ball, and then they bring in Chad Pennington's kid, and it was a little wonky. They were having trouble protecting him. I felt like they kind of did a disservice to themselves based on what was working and what was giving Georgia Tech's defense trouble in that game, which was basically the threat of running the football right from the quarterback, and they were getting DBs a little out of position with their eyes and stuff because some of the plays were dragging on a little bit, and that led to some nice pickups for them. But yeah, I don't know. I think you got to roll with Haynes. He's your guy. He's your leader of your team. And then if he's struggling or if he's not comfortable or if it flares up, then you let Philo go. And Buster knows how to call game for both of them. You remember Philo's his handpick guy. Like he knows exactly what he can do. And he's coached and called games for Haynes King this is a third year now. Like he knows what Haynes can do. And so it's not going to be that hard. And their skill sets aren't that varied. It's not like talking about the difference between playing a Josh Nesbitt and an Aaron Philo, right? Like the skill sets are not that different between those two guys. Just more of a run threat with Haynes. So yeah, my guess is that you'll see Haynes King and it'll be a Haynes King show, but that's just an educated guess. I haven't spoken to anybody. It's Sunday night. They just did error correction. They're off tomorrow. Probably won't really know much till Tuesday, Wednesday of really what's going on. And then Thursday, we'll actually get our first injury report, I think, from the ACC for an ACC game. So that'll be something as well.
I'm
On
sure
the second,
I'm sure it'll be very accurate too. It'll be there'll be a lot of coaches that do the Belichick
questionable. It
Yeah,
would be funny if it was like the entire roster, like the 105, questionable.
as long as they're
Um,
above the line.
the second part of Ian's question: how do you feel about us winning special teams battle in this type of game? That's why Brent invested in that. You brought in Brendan Farrell and kept Tim Salem, and they went out and got a punter and a long snapper. And the idea was that they needed to be better on special teams. And this is one of those games where that really matters. There have been some really close games in this series that have slipped away from Tech. Even with Jeff, they should have beat them up there. Is it 19 maybe in the rain? No, that wasn't 19. That was the first game with the weightlifting, wasn't it? Maybe it was 21 or something. I don't 20, 21. One of those years they were up there and they should have beat them. It all blends together because the series has moved so many times in my mind. But
They were in the game in the one in the Benz to kick off the season. I don't remember what season that was.
yeah, the
They
one
were
where
in that.
Charlie Thomas got ejected. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
talking about the one that was like a. It was the one where they didn't score a touchdown and they had like two different touchdowns called back. One was for like a bogus hold on Dylan Leonard, I think it was. He like freed Gibbs and Gibbs ran for a long touchdown and no one had scored on Clemson in forever. Um, whatever year that was, I'm sure someone in the chat will remind me. But they played a great game up there and lost. But it was like a man. They forced a safety or something at the end of the game, and then like were on the goal line and couldn't score. They had like 4 or 5 tries to punch it in, couldn't punch it in. Like that was like a tough game. The game where Charlie got ejected in the Benz was an incredible game. They were winning that game, and then the whole tenor of the game changed when Charlie got ejected. So, and then there've been like the horrible blowout where the punter threw a touchdown and Bobby Dodd, which was I think the last time they played in Bobby Dodd. So it's been kind of a up and down rivalry, but this they look vulnerable at the moment. You know, you never know when things click, but yeah, I think that it'll be interesting to see what this looks like because I don't think either team has a great idea. We don't know how good LSU is. We sort of have an idea of what Colorado is at this point, but like, what is Clemson? What does Georgia Tech's defense look like? Like, those are the things that I think are kind of big questions going into this. And Clemson's a talented team. Make no mistake. Don't walk in there thinking that the magic's back and it's suddenly going to be a long time ago when maybe Tech had a good run in that series. I think this is going to be an absolute dogfight.
it's not. Clemson's defensive line is very good. Their offensive line has not been great to start the year.
No.
And then Klubnik has obviously not been the guy that everybody thought he was going to be this year. But
They
it's
have
week
some weapons
3,
issues
so
there too.
yeah.
On offense.
Yeah, they got some receiver. I know they got the one guy that was out, Williams, I think was out for the Troy game, and they've got another guy that was kind of dinged up too. So, yeah, I don't know. It would be. I don't know. It's a weird game because Clemson played some pretty bad stinkers last year, and then came on at the end of last year, made playoff, won that game, AC championship game. So, I don't know. You never know what you're gonna get from Dabo. So, I just like they said, come fill up the stands, like players Key was talking about. Need a home field advantage. It's noon. I'm glad it's at noon. Like I think we talked about this before, for Clemson to come on the road, and rather than have all day to think about it. It's noon. Everybody's kind of rolling out of bed, and I don't know. It might be a good time, but we'll see.
And if you win, you got plenty of time to drink and celebrate and enjoy the revelry after. I'm sure there's a good night game this week after this kind of dog schedule.
It's a big week. LSU, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee at 3:30. So some good ones. Hopefully we'll be able to watch them after a big win.
Speaking of my other site, does USF get a playoff spot? So I'll keep this quick because it's non-Georgia Tech. Right now, yeah, if they win the American, they're in the playoffs. Like I think there's no doubt about it. They'll have an SEC win. They have another top 25 win out of conference. No one else will have that on their resume from the group of 5, 6, whatever they are now. So, yeah, I think they're in it. But they've never won the league, so they've never won a conference championship in football. So this is all new territory for them. So we'll see what happens.
They got some help because Boise State and JMU's both lost already. So that was 2 of the group of 5 teams people were thinking about.
when they beat Boise head to head. So, we talked about how Gardner-Webb rotated their quarterbacks. It seemed like, yeah, it was weird. 2021. Okay, that was when the Clemson game was I was talking about.
I didn't get a good look at the. Somebody was talking about Eric Rivers over here. We never got a good replay on that offensive pass interference, but I didn't know if somebody was watching on TV. They had one of the TVs off in the press box, and one of them was like
The
way
one
in
that we would normally look at was off, which was not helpful. That all of the writers would look at, that all the main beat people. We have like one TV that's sort of like to our right, and it was off or broken or something. I don't know what's going on.
So I don't know if that was really offensive pass interference or not, but
So here's a easy question: why do teams line up in different formations on PATs? The idea is to catch somebody off guard and trick them into an easy 2-point conversion or wasting a timeout. That's you line up spread out, and believe it or not, people did this against Jeff Collins. Surprise, surprise! They converted a two. I forget who it was, but it happened in a game with Jeff where like they weren't lined up right and gave up a 2-point conversion. I think Brent had one too.
it might have been Clemson. I think Clemson might have done that one year against Collins. I don't.
I
Maybe
feel like
early on.
Notre Dame did it, but maybe I'm wrong about that. They claimed their kicker was injured or something. I don't remember.
Yeah, you go out there, you line up crazy, and you count the numbers. If you got an advantage, you sling it out there, and it's a
You
number
sling it or you
thing.
can run or whatever. Wherever
Yeah.
it's basically, yeah, you're counting where everyone is on the field. Andrew's asking, is good football team? I don't think there's a better team playing ball in the ACC right now. It's hard to tell, man. We're 2 games in, and both of Georgia Tech's games have been in, I would say, mediocre conditions weather-wise. So you haven't even had that. Georgia Tech thing, they've had at least 2 starters out. They had 3 or 4 yesterday that didn't play at all. The guys that we projected to start the season, like AJ Hoffler or Haynes King, obviously, or Rodney Shelley. So it is a little different. I think playing well right now, yeah, but Miami's playing well.
Florida State.
Florida State, obviously. I mean, they got their money's worth out of East Texas A&M or whoever it was they played. Um, that was pretty brutal. Trying to
Pitt's
think who else has
Pitt's
looked
two and
at.
0, I think.
Yeah, and even like the middle tier, like team, like Boston College, I thought they looked pretty good last night. I watched some of that game. They'll be a tough out for people. The one team that's spiraling now seems to be Virginia Tech, which is interesting. I listened to that game driving back from Bobby Dodd last night on the satellite radio, and they were down maybe 10 and going into the fourth quarter, and their fans were leaving the stadium. And I was listening to the Virginia Tech radio feed, which was even more interesting because they were like, we think this will be a good fourth quarter. And then, like, around 9 minutes in, they got a penalty or something. And it was the first down they'd had in the second half on offense. I was like, holy smokes. And it took like a pound. They were just boxed in by old Clark Lee. So I don't know. The drain seems it might be circling on old Brent Pry up there.
I listened to that same thing on the way home last night. Vanderbilt just ran it down their throat. They couldn't stop it. But the funny part of the list of the Virginia Tech broadcast was it was like 6.5 or 7 minutes left, and the guy was like, "Well, Vanderbilt's going to move to 2-0." And
Yeah, no,
like,
that was crazy. Like he was just done. It was a 14-point game or whatever, and like he's like, this is, yeah. He said Vanderbilt moves to 2. I was like looked down and like hit the thing on my phone to see like how much time was left on the game. So I was like, wait a second, like I was like, I feel like there's we're not even hit like the 2-minute timeout or anything. Like
well,
what the
he
hell?
was the guy was disgusted when Virginia Tech took a timeout with like 3 minutes left or something, and I was like, man, this guy's ready to get out of here. Like, he's put that one in the record books.
Eric Rivers, question about Eric Rivers have a big game against Clemson. You can tell putting in plays for him. The OPI looked off. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what did Alex ran into Buster before the game started. And he told him to be in his seat when they go on offense for the first. They had that first play was dialed up for Rivers,
Yeah,
and
just
Philo
missed it.
just overthrew him. I think it was probably just the adrenaline of making his first start got to him, and he overthrew him a bit. But he was wide open for whatever 75-yard touchdown or whatever that would have been. Um, they had that dialed up. Yeah, they've been trying to get him, and he's just like missed. It's been like a shoestring tackle or a ball overthrown or something. They've been just off on connecting with him for a huge play. And it's funny that his buddy Dean Patterson was the one that got the long touchdown in the game. Instead of him on that screen. Graham just threw literally like the most basic screen pass they work on every day, and he took it 80 yards for a touchdown. That was pretty funny.
And Jordan Allen almost had that same. I saw he posted on, I think his Instagram or something. He had like a broken heart emoji because he's like, man, I thought I was going to get a touchdown on my first college touch, and that dude ran him down from behind.
Yeah, that was he was. You could tell he got gassed. He, I think, really like hit the burners to get loose, and then was on fumes by the time he got all the way down. But you can see why they're like really excited about Jordan Allen, that speed, and he'll play some this year. He's the third slot guy behind Malik and Bailey, and um, they really love that kid, and he'll return some kicks and punts and stuff this year probably at some point too. Like he's really skilled athlete, and he was one of the ones that the staff identified early as probably being a guy who could play and help them this year. And it's interesting because the kid they took, the transfer, the Raheem Smith kid, he got a little dinged up in camp, but like they sort of are very similar players. But Jordan's just like he's just got more elite like ball skills, and so that sort of I think may have like pushed that other kid to the side a little bit, which is kind of weird. But he still has another year left, so he can Raheem can figure it out what he wants to do if it doesn't work out at Tech. People are talking about the offensive line versus Clemson's E line. Yeah, that's what the game's going to come down to. I think that's why King is just so important to it, because you need that run, that RPO ability to have at least them thinking about it and having to not be like so downhill all the time on you in their pass rush. Um, and they're going to have to come up with some ways. They've been creative with how they've used the tight ends and the running backs and pass protection. They're going to have to continue to be uh, up to snuff on that. I'm curious what the O line looks like. It looks like right now their best line is McKinney, Harrison, Tana at center, and then Rutledge and Carney on the right side. The right side looks really good. It's that left. It's really the left guard center spot that's been the issue. McKinney's played fine. He hasn't been an issue. It's been that the left side of the guard box that's been a little more problematic. Joe Fusel's had a little bit of a slow start. They've pulled him out of some games and played Harrison more. I don't know if Joe's banged up or not. That's one of those things they don't talk about. Brent's never going to really get into O line injuries with anybody. So yeah, they need to figure out. And that's maybe a spot where like a Kevin P or something like that can help them later in the season too. But I'm not as worried about McKinney. Um,
Carney got a penalty for just dominating a guy yesterday. I don't know.
yeah, that's what I heard. Like everyone was like, oh, apparently FSU was the one that converted the 2-pointer on Key last year.
Yeah, that's. I think that might have been their first touchdown. I remember something.
Will Kiker was absolutely robbed on the 2-point conversion play. I talked to somebody about that. They said that basically just as soon as the whistle's blown, it's dead, regardless of if they screwed up or not, which is kind of sad because everyone kept going. That was why I thought maybe they'd think about it, because everyone kept going and there was no real delay. Like they all went back. Nancy
I
wants.
heard the whistle. I heard the whistle in the press box. Was like crap. I didn't like.
Yeah, I thought it was like it wasn't a real whistle, because usually more than one of them will blow it or whatever, and nothing happened, and it was just kind of like a faint whistle. Nancy wants to know about the injured guys being back. Brent said that he thinks that Shelley and Hoffler will be back. They both dressed on Saturday. were available kind of as emergency guys. I think they didn't want to rush them into a game just to play them. Both have played before, not Hoffler, not at Tech, but at Clemson. I think they're both back. The one that was interesting that we didn't necessarily hear about or notice was Savion Riley being out, and that changed a lot of stuff because that pushed Tay Harris into the rotation. It pushed Christian Pritchett, who had moved a corner back to safety, actually played a little bit in the game. DJ Moore got to play a little bit in the game. They shuffled some things because Savion was out. And then Trelane Maddox would be the other one. People said he was in a boot on the side. I didn't see that, but he was on the boot in the sideline. I just didn't see him at all. But that's probably because he was sitting on the bench if he was in a boot. And they have those like cover things now so we can't really see we're behind them in the press box, so you can't see it unless you go down on the field, which we don't.
That's where all the recruits were sitting in the when I walked by in pregame. I guess they were getting out of the sun for a few minutes.
It was very
The
fun.
the whistle thing. I told Kelly and who I don't remember who we were talking to on the way back from the might have been Andy maybe on the way back from the press conference. But my theory was the referee had been doing high school games because on a block PAT in high school it's a dead ball, you can't return it. So I don't know, maybe if he had been doing that and gotten in that habit or whatever. But yeah, it's a tough one. Will Kiker, the return that never happened.
Steve wants to know about, so I was right about Singleton 2 years ago and Harrison Moore last year. Did you guys see how good Spalding has been at linebacker? He's really electric. Yeah, my big thing with him was seeing him over the summer, like how much bigger he was, because he was like 195 maybe when he got to Tech, 190. And then he put on like 20 pounds of muscle in the span of basically from at some point maybe around the spring to the summer, and looked like a totally different guy just physically, because I thought maybe he would be like my initial thoughts on him was that he was going to be like a guy that would play like Sam or nickel, like kind of linebacker stuff, like sub package dime linebacker, like. And then he like blew up. I was like, wait a second. I was like, he can play like every down now. And that's really interesting because Darius Eubanks, the new linebackers coach, has talked about this. He wants to play 4 or 5 guys. He's been doing that through these first games. They've played five linebackers in each of the games. Tajay's playing a little bit less than everybody else, but the 4 older guys are all playing a ton, and Spalding's one of them, and he looks great. He as he gets more comfortable with the speed of the game, I think it'll help him. This is going to be an interesting week for him because he'll be challenged a little bit more than he's been. Just guarding guys in space with the way Clemson plays. So that'll be an interesting kind of test for him. Same for like Kyle Eford, who's had to improve how he plays in space. Those are the situations where you see the adjustments from those guys, and where they brought in a guy like Melvin Jordan that's been really good at that in the past. Melvin actually struggled in the Colorado game and played a lot better yesterday. So I'm excited with what they're getting at linebacker. It's the best linebacker play I've seen in a long time at Tech. So that's encouraging. Yeah, I don't think any of us are surprised about Spalding. It was more of like how he used his time from like the spring game to when they got into fall camp, that 4 months or whatever it was. He made the most of it, and I think he's really, really helped him.
We're I was looking at the questions on the board.
Yeah, go for it.
First question was about the early turnovers. Is it a recurring problem or first game jitters, or maybe we got it twice because it was Philo's first start of the year?
I think it was so. Aaron did this in the spring game a little bit too. He's still got a little of that young high school quarterback thing in him. It takes a while. Haynes King struggled. I think people forget how much he struggled his first year at Tech with turnovers. He had, I think he almost led the league he led the league in total turnovers probably in 2022. Sorry, 2023. And was like up in the top in interceptions. And then he got it out of his system. It was great last year with that. And then had had a rough first game, but not all of that was his fault, as we found out like rewatching the game. But it's uh, it's it's interesting. And he's just got he needs seasoning. I think that's why they played him 59 of 60 snaps, which we were shocked by. Like Alex and I thought they'd put Knowles in, and clearly they felt like he needed the work, like the game reps, and that's why they kept Philo in the game. So I think that was kind of what was going on there. Did Josh Petty have a pancake in the game? Or was it on the screen that
I think on
Patterson
the
scored on?
either Patterson or Allen, he had a really good block.
Oh, did
He
he?
was like one of the pictures. He was like running down the field like with Allen, or I think it was Allen. Like he can move. Like he can be a guy in space that blocks like that.
I mean, the whole thing with Josh is his body's got to catch up to his physical gifts. He's got to fill out physically, basically, get stronger. He was sort of a tight end size guy. Now he has to get to being a left tackle size guy. Look, and the guy who's in front of him is literally the best example of this, which is Ethan McKinney, who is 235 pounds as a junior or as a sophomore at Brent Keith's O line camp. And then he was like 245, 250 when he committed. And now he's like 310 and just massive. So the roadmap's there, and McKinney is playing pretty well. Still needs to improve his run block a little bit, but like he's playing well. So I think that it's going to be fun to see those guys in the future, and the depth they're building on the O line is the three freshmen that are healthy. Two of the guys are like seriously injured. You have Jimmy Bryson and Xavier Canales, who both have lower body injuries, and then you have Kevin P, you have Josh Petty, and you have Peyton Joseph. Those three look like dudes, man. And they were excited about Bryson before he got hurt. And Canales is an interesting guy because he can play four of the 5 line positions. They've done a really good job in recruiting, I think. And that's where, obviously Brent Key's a line guy. That's where he's going to invest his time and energy. And yeah, I'm excited. But yeah, we barely got like settled in to watch the second O line, and they hit those two big plays like pretty much back to back after those guys came in because they hit the long play to Jordan Allen, right? Or was it to Patter? It was to Jordan Allen
yeah,
from
Patterson was
Philo,
later.
and then they came back the next series, and that because that was the one JP scored the touchdown right after Jordan Allen
Yeah,
had a long run, and then they come back and had a one play scoring drive. So the two offensive line got to play 4 snaps, I think, in the game. So that was a little funky.
hey, 2 for 2 on touchdown drives. So
Ian's asking about this is the Braden Manley breakout game. It's interesting. He looked better in this game. That Colorado matchup was not a great one for him, and they were very hyper focused on that kid. With their scheming. They schemed him up like he was Julius Peppers, Colorado in their first game, with like double teams, and that's what a lot of the D tackles that kind of flow so freely in there. This game was a little more traditional, and he was able to affect the game a little bit more. He missed. Who was it that missed the free shot? Was it him or Fuller? Where the quarterback sidestepped him.
I think it was Fuller early.
It might have been Fuller. Yeah, I feel like it was Fuller. Because I thought it was like a freshman mistake. He got sidestepped pretty hard. He had a free shot at him too. It was like he was blitzing on a screen, and just dude sidestepped him totally. He flew right by him. But that's the beauty of those games. You can get away with that stuff.
Christian Garrett had the back-to-back plays. They actually, I thought Garrett had 2 sacks. They actually gave one of them to Kilo. I don't know. They thought they were going to
It
split
looked
it
like
up.
the two of them were there. Aquila, I think, didn't it look like one of them started it and the other one had to finish it? That was what I thought. It was like a half sack situation.
Yeah. So, but hey, Christian Garrett, he's there's a reason he was so highly thought of. He he's going to play a good bit. Him and Fuller. So
Charles, with the Under Armour question, I would say probably.
maybe they can get the gold right.
I thought those jerseys looked fine.
They did. They looked fine in person. They might look different like at night or whatever, but
I thought they were okay.
I mean, the golds weren't the gold helmet and the gold jersey. They weren't as crazy different as I thought it was going to be.
And I think like Georgia Tech fans would complain if they wore black jerseys. They say it's the wrong shade of black. Like we're at that point with this. Like they hate the navy. The gold's never right. Like I think the problem with the gold jerseys was they should have wore white helmets with the gold jerseys or black helmet, something other than the gold helmet because it makes the gold look weirder. But whatever.
Maybe that famous white T helmet that Key's got.
I remember when who was it that played? Was it Nick Ferguson that played in the NFL from Tech? Played for the Falcons, special teams guy. He came up with a concept black helmet, and like whoever's the AD at the time wouldn't let them do it, but Paul Johnson actually liked it, and they paraded this thing out. It was like it was in the early days of JOL. It was like a thing that we talked about because Nick got me to like promote his like black helmet he made. But yeah, as I've said, I don't care. Short of them, I don't want them to show up in pink. But short of that, I don't really care what color jerseys they wear. My concern as a reporter covering the team is the gold's very hard to read on those white jerseys they wore for Colorado. I need them to put like a dark outline on them or something because those jersey numbers were a pain in the butt to read for us. But other than that, whatever.
I think somebody's asking about. I think it'll be white on Saturday. That's the
Jack's asking to bring back the honeycomb shell. I like the honeycombs. I like that JT was wearing the old school jersey from his era too, and he came out. For those who missed the coin toss, Justin Thomas, the legendary Georgia Tech quarterback, was out there in his old jersey. He even did it the way he used to do it with like he had the hoodie on underneath the jersey, which is how he used to roll back in the day too.
Old JT
with the white and beige. Like I said,
yeah, I saw somebody going to khaki jackets yesterday.
Guy, but like it is very funny. Like no matter what they do, somebody hates it. I remember how much everybody hated the honeycombs. Everyone hated like whatever. The people hated the superhero uniforms they did when Jeff was there. That they sort of brought back this year, right? Because that's the other alt uniform, isn't it? Like a gray or something.
Yeah.
Because I remember Brent told me like over the summer, he's like, "Don't worry, there's no Navy this year. We're taking a break from that this year." Navy. Because it was like, "What kind of weird Navy jersey do you have?" He's like, "Oh, we don't have one this year. We're gonna have something else." I was like, "Okay." So I assumed it was just a gold, and then they came out. They had the gold and a whatever gray, whatever that color is.
I was looking up the chat.
Key wants Doug wants to know. Key said they're working on the turnover problem. How do you fix turnovers like the ones we've had? The one that the fumble that Philo had was just sort of a weird play. Like he got pushed and a lineman got pushed into him. I think at the same time, basically, and the ball kind of just poked out. He either needed to just take the sack there or like throw the ball away before he got to that point. He was holding the ball too long. That's just a young quarterback thing, in my opinion. I haven't watched that play back closely enough, but watching it live, that was sort of what my thought was. I could be off on it, but that was my thought. The pick was a guy thinking he's still in high school and he can overthrow the coverage, and he didn't have enough mustard on the ball. I don't know if it was because it was wet or whatever, but he was trusting his arm strength a little too much. That was if you're Brett Favre, you can in his heyday you can throw that, but very few people can throw that pass off their back foot on the run, rolling right, kind of against their body.
That was a force. He had the
because he had the first down if he just ran it. That was the first thing that we looked at. It was like, oh, just run. You have before I saw him throw it, I was like, All you gotta do is run. You have the lane there to pick up the first down without getting touched. You can just run out in front of the sticks because no one had a good angle on him.
He had the guy right at the sticks open too, so like he just forced it like he was trying to make a play, and that's one of those he's going to
Yeah,
learn
take what they
from.
give you, man. It's
Yeah,
something that Haynes had to learn last year, or he learned last year versus his first year. Because remember, Haynes had all those forced throws down the field in his first season at Tech too. It's something that comes with experience, I think.
Haynes was speaking of Brett Favre, he was a little bit of a Brett Favre that first year.
Well, that was the joke we made.
Yeah,
He was kind of like Brett Favre, like watching him. Like
yeah,
it was like
gunslinger.
he was just gonna sling it.
Yep.
Uh,
Here's
um,
here's one from the board. Through 2 weeks, position group that's outperforming preseason expectations, and position group that's underperforming preseason expectations. Kind of,
Overperforming, I would say.
I'd say defensive line. I know we had good expectations, but
Well,
like,
yeah, the ends in particular, I thought the defensive tackles would be good. They had a good group of guys there, particularly JJ and Kilo. But seeing Amontre Bradford and Dre Fuller and a little bit of Manley and Christian Garrett's been really nice surprise. And a guy they were excited about, but I think that's been a little bit good. The underwhelming to me has been the GT Bowhunter guy in chat. I'm with him on this. I thought the pass coverage has been a little weak. The corners looked really disengaged yesterday. Like Amari was kind of didn't seem like himself at times out there. He gave up a couple really cheap passes that he normally would have been on, playing real soft. And I don't know if that was part of their game plan or not, but that was a little underwhelming. And they've had some issues with some of the switching off with obviously that big pass at Colorado that we talked about last week with Marion Miller, where I think it was CP Lee and Harvey. Clayton was supposed to have the deep ball and didn't rotate over, and that allowed them to have a free big play. Like you can't get away with those at a certain point. That's going to catch up with you. So seeing that kind of cleaned up will be good. I don't know. The offensive line would be the other one where I thought they'd be a little more dominant than they've been, especially in the run blocking. That's been okay. It's not been as and they're obviously hitting big plays and stuff, but they're not. They're also maybe not as consistent play to play with that. So that would be the other maybe thing that's kind of stood out.
I was secondary too, like that, and they hadn't had their full assortment of guys they thought they were going to be able to depend on with Shelley being out, and I mean Riley from camp, he was going to play a good bit with the safeties too. So yeah, Amari fell down a couple of times yesterday which was kind of weird. I don't know, but yeah, secondary can be better. That I mean, they'll probably get tested this week. I mean, Klubnik's going to throw it, so. I was looking.
Montre Bradford leads the team in sacks. Someone
That's
else
what
in
I
the
was looking
chat.
at just now. I was trying to look at the stats. I don't know if they updated the team stats yet,
They
but
have, and he because they didn't have. So here's a little behind the curtain thing. So there's only one sack at the time in the game book from the Colorado game, and it was JJ Vandenberg had that one, and it turned out that was a QB draw, and this is one of those things the SIDs like fight about, and they'll fight for their team and the coaches. So they went back and looked at it, and yeah, the center's like 6 yards down the field on the play. So clearly it was a QB draw. You just didn't. JJ was on him so fast, he didn't have time to actually like start to go forward. So they took that sack away from him. So the 6 sacks they have are all from yesterday. So Montre would be leading them. But I think the defense has looked a lot better. I just think that they're still having some issues. They had tons of issues last year, though. I mean, so we'll see what happens. Who leads the team in sacks this year? That's a really good question.
they're rotating so many guys right now. It's It's
I'll
going to
still
be.
go with my guess was Braden Manley at the beginning of the year, even though he only has half a sack so far through 2 games. I still think that dude's special. Haven't watched him all spring and all fall. I think he'll get an opportunity, especially if the Dreyfuller, Bradfords, Hoffler, and then the D tackles can hold serve. That'll open things up for him.
That's what I was going to say. Kilo, he's off to a pretty good start in that category. So
Akilah is very good. Him and JJ are both very good at that. That was why they brought Akilah in, was to improve the pass rush in the inside. I do think the game plan was a little bit vanilla defensively too, to kind of keep Gardner-Webb in front of them. So that may have played into what they were doing coverage-wise in that game.
and I think going back to the first game against Colorado, I think that was still Gideon kind of learning like what he could do with this defense, and he wasn't like over aggressive blitzing and everything, and he's kind of they kind of played pretty vanilla in that game and played pretty well. But they weren't as aggressive as they were yesterday, obviously.
Yeah, I thought the field did look nice. Trip, I agree with you there. I'm not, I prefer grass like I think everyone does, but for turf it was nice. It looked like it drained well from the storm, and even when it was raining during the game, and it was hot as hell down there on the field before the game. We were both sweating, as was everyone else down there. It was a warm day, and then the storm hit and that kind of cooled it off a little bit. But that's the one sort of downside of the turf, is it makes it very warm. So Saturday will be interesting because I think right now it looks like it's going to be in the 80s and sunny, right, for the game.
I saw there's no rain in the forecast for like a week, like more than a week. So hopefully
So that
that's.
turfs usually runs 10, 15 degrees hotter at least. So that'll be interesting. I wonder if that plays into it. I mean, it shouldn't affect these guys. Either both of them, both Clemson and Tech should have had plenty of practices in warm weather, but I guess we'll find out.
Well, there's a question on here. We kind of talked about it, but which young guys stood out to you that possibly improved their stock with strong play yesterday? I mean, Christian Garrett yesterday was pretty.
Bradford and Garrett, I think, would be the two top ones. I would say young guy, Jordan Allen. I think you saw like what he can do.
Tay Harris had some
Yeah, Tay
issues. He had some
safety.
issues in secondary, but he came up and made some big tackles too. He knocked the
He's
ball
a
away.
thumper, man. Like he will hit people. His coverage was fine. He had like one error in run defense, where he kind of got caught a little bit. But I think they expect him to play more as the season goes along. You saw the one thing you did kind of see, which sucks for Dalen Penson, suffering from not having been here in the spring a little bit, and he got in there and had a tough time of it, trying to play. They tried to get him some reps just to see what he could do. He's still behind Elgin in terms of the two freshman corners, and Sessions held his own out there when he was out there. It just was not as sharp for Dalen, and hopefully that'll come. He just lacks the experience right now, a piece of it. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else that we saw play. That's probably about it. Ian wants to know the over under on 15,000 Clemson fans. I would say way under, right? Like they almost drew 40,000 for a bad rain game. I think they can draw. If they draw 40, they'll be under the 15. So,
I don't know.
but we'll see. As we'll find out. I don't know how steamed up the Clemson fans are about their team right now either. I think imagine they're not thrilled. But yeah, there's so many Clemson alumni in the area and stuff. It's like when you play Georgia, you're going to get a big bump from the opposing fans coming into your stadium. The key will be for the Tech fans to be loud and obnoxious and create a hostile environment. And that's on y'all to do that, man. Do your part if you're going to the game, and be loud and obnoxious, especially for a noon game. You got to bring your own energy a little bit. Get the hair of the dog going, and get yourself ready. Go have Bloody Marys or whatever it is to get yourself ready.
They're going to have the
Liquid breakfast.
The Flow Rida concert's going to get everybody going about 9:30 a.m. I assume. So that'll
Is he going to show up? Like, are you going to be able to get that dude to like show up to something that early in the morning? I guess they do. So somebody mentioned that to me this week, and I thought about it. All those dudes have to do that press where they do morning radio, and so they're used to having to get up anyways.
Yeah.
Or you just stay up all night, and like then he goes to bed after the concert.
I'm surprised they haven't announced the Temple game concert yet. I don't. Maybe they got somebody like in the works.
Jeff Collins is going to come out and do a karaoke and talk about how his Temple team was the greatest Temple team of all time when they played. Georgia Tech played them his first year in 2019.
No, what a time! What a time to be alive.
I've never wanted to. That was like the one time I like wanted to throw like something at like a coach when he was talking to me. It was when Jeff was condescendingly talking about how amazing that Temple team was they lost to in that horrible game up in Philly. I just wanted him to shut the hell up because he was just digging the hole for himself. Temple has a new coach. They're not. They were basically at doorstop with Stan Drayton, I think it was, the former Texas running backs coach. And they have a new coach who's from like the FCS. He's coached a bunch of different places and won. They're much better, but it still is what it is. Any favorite Dabo memories? I've told this story many times. The first thing I think of to this day when I hear Dabo's name is the 2009 ACC championship game. I had a dude named Alexi who was working on the site at that time. He was a student at Tech. He sat in the box and I took pictures for that game, and he wrote like the game story. And so I was down on the field before the game and after the game and during the game. And these two really old Clemson guys that were like, I'm sure, God rest their souls, they're probably past now. They were in their 80s. Came up to me and said, "Man, we wish we had a real coach like y'all have," talking about Georgia Tech, "and not this moron named Dabo. He sucks. We wish we had Paul Johnson. Can't believe we were stuck with this Dabo fella." And like then he like figured it out and got his staff together and started winning, and like, but it was very amazing to me that was like the mentality of their fan. But it just goes to show, man, like that's so many of these fans like want to turn on guys like before maybe they get their thing up and rolling. I don't know.
I wonder if those guys lived to see the 2 national championships.
That's what I wondered too, man. Like that was such a strange day in Tampa. The CJ Spiller show.
I used to like Dabo a lot when he was first but then he just got to be too much. I don't know. He did something last year, I think, early in the year.
Nice. I will say this: Dabo is generally a nice guy. Like, so some of these guys put on a little bit of an act for the camera or whatever. Dabo's always been very nice. Like, all my interactions with him have been very pleasant. Unlike a lot of coaches are socially awkward, especially around strangers, or weird, or like do not want nothing to do with anyone, like, personally. And Dabo, great dude, as Steve says in the chat, him and Paul were good friends. And Paul Johnson told me some funny stories the week of that first Georgia Tech Clemson game where they lifted the weights on the sideline, and I think that was a season opener, wasn't it? And
yeah, that was the first
Wanye dropped that punt, and like they had made a stand on the first drive, and then Wanye dropped the punt at like they muffed the punt, and then deep in the end zone, and we're deep in their side of the field. It was
I remember. I think it was Swilling had a pick on Lawrence, and then looked like he was going straight to the end zone for pick 6, and Lawrence knocked him out. And I don't think Georgia Tech ended up scoring.
It did not. Yeah, I remember that as well. It was like the first turnover he had in like however many attempts or whatever it had been.
Dabo did something to his media early in the season last year that rubbed me the wrong way. Like he was getting on his own, like Clemson media, about things that they wrote, like just the most ridiculous reach of a coach, like saying, "Oh, y'all are being all negative." Like when a coach does it, I want to be like, let's remember all the good stuff that these people have written about you. Like the Clemson home media is not I don't think they're that hard on you, Dabo. So,
As
yeah,
Brent Key said, they would kiss the cracks of their bottom, or whatever that line is that Brent Key has from his old coach. That Clemson media is very kind to Dabo, and very most of them are very reverential towards him. And I say this as people that see this every single year at these like ACC events where you have the Clemson media mafia show up with like one outlet will have 10 people there covering something. It's like, what are you doing? Like, you don't need that many people covering the most. My so and so took like peanut, only took certain color M&Ms out of a jar level coverage. But yeah, Dabo's a good dude. Like, he's a little out of his era maybe right now, and that's going to be the thing that they'll be telling. This is a huge moment for their program, because if they lose this game, they're probably out of the playoffs. Like, this is almost an elimination game for them, because then they really do have to win out, and then they're going to be playing from a lower seed probably the rest of the way if they made it. Steve wants to know what the media thought of. So I can tell you, I was standing down there in the sidelines when they started doing that, and we're talking about the weightlifting on the sideline, and a couple of the local TV people like came up to me and were like, "Are they seriously like doing this? Like, is this for real?" And then a couple of my buddies who cover Clemson were like walking over, just like barreled over with laughing. Like, it was. I was like, and I had seen the teams. I knew, like, Jeff let us go to all the practices. I knew they weren't good. Like, and so I thought it was so crazy. I was like, they're not very good. Like, what are you doing? Like, and it was such a circus. I wish I could get like Brent to come on here and talk uncensored about this. Like, whenever he's done coaching, we'll like come circle back to this, because that dude has some amazing stories from working for Jeff, and like what all was going on behind the scenes, and how much like those guys tried to help Jeff, and like how helpless the situation was, and how frustrated everybody was.
there's a question on the board about is Hosley the clear number two when even if Maddox returns? Um,
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he's certainly earned a spot. They were going to make it a situation where it was sort of the opposite situation in the spring, because Hosley got hurt, and um, in the spring, and so Maddox really took advantage of that and kind of carried that momentum all the way through fall camp, and then he was kind of the third guy, and then Maddox gets hurt on the kickoff, and I think it was a kickoff, and then the whole dynamic changed. So, um, yeah, I mean, I think you go with who's working it. The real interesting thing to me will be when Chad Alexander comes back. Like, where does he figure into this? Because he was the guy last year in the number two, and very good at it. So, like, you have four guys then. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what they choose to do with Shane Marshall and JP Powell with their red shirts. Both of them are on special teams. How do they think they can help? You're going to need four backs throughout the season at least. That's been pretty consistent in my time covering teams. Other than maybe a handful of times you kind of get into your depth a little bit. So yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting question. I don't know, but it's hard to argue with the production so far. He's been very good at what he does, and I like the whole thing with him line up as the fullback and stuff. They did that with him and Trey all through spring and fall camp and stuff. It was something we saw, and I like that the way they were using them, and it gave you a lot of options, because there's like 4 or 5 different plays you can run off of that formation that are all very difficult for the defense to defend, and you just all you gotta do is, if you're Haynes King or Philo, whoever's count, you look and see where the weakness is, and you can go move the ball to that spot.
and we don't know injury wise what the deal is fully with Maddox. So I mean
Yeah, you don't know how long he's out or whatever. I imagine
he
maybe we'll start to get an ICA soon.
he played 2 or 3 games last year, and then did something to his lower body and missed the rest of the year. So I don't really know.
Essentially, I think broke his foot last year. That was what happened. He had like a stress fracture in his foot, if I'm recalling correctly.
Yeah, I know he was riding around on one of those foot scooters for a good bit. There's a question: are you more or less optimistic of our chances of beating Clemson after the way both teams have played the first 2 games? I would say more because Clemson is not what I thought they were going to be.
Yeah, I thought Clemson would be better too.
Especially Klubnik, I thought he would.
I just haven't seen it with him, and like, I know some of it's the skill guys around him maybe not being as good as they could be, but like, he hasn't done that thing where he puts a team on his back much there, right? Like, and that's what made Trevor Lawrence or Deshaun Watson or any of their good quarterbacks, even and that was the thing that undid like the Kelly Bryants or some of the other guys they've had, like when you couldn't do that. And it's weird to me. He seems like a guy that's going to end up in the NFL being like a backup quarterback somewhere for 10 years. Never and maybe he turns it on. I don't know, but I just don't see it yet. And it's weird to me. He's been in college this long and we haven't seen it yet. I'll take a second here, Alex, and do a little housekeeping. Thank our friends at Section 103 for their awesome support of JOL and other, to be honest with you, other media outlets as well that cover Georgia Tech. Best Georgia Tech gear. Obviously, we know our friend Alt Brent Key with the Brent Key hoodie that he rocks. Brent, actually, we had a whole conversation about that the other day. He thought it was pretty cool. He was joking that he's gonna have to get tattoos like that guy on his, get 2 slaves to match his doppelganger. But yeah, they sell the best tech stuff. Alex is a firm believer in Section 103, and it's good people, and they're doing the best they can to have kind of a small homegrown business doing some LSU stuff now. So check out Section 103 for your needs for Georgia Tech gear. Thanks them for helping get us off the couch to do this tonight.
And Nancy's talking about their great white shirts. They with the whiteout coming up on Saturday, they I know they had the pop up before the game yesterday. I assume they'll have another one this Saturday.
Yeah, so they usually have like a little camper thing with stuff.
So if you need a white shirt for the whiteout, that's a good place to get it. Let's see here. White pants.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I'd say you could skip the white pants and just wear the white shirt and be good, man. Like, I don't think anybody wants to see people wearing white pants. That's just a bad recipe.
I'm looking through that. We've talked about a good amount of these.
Wear an undershirt if you have to. That's white.
I've got like a white.
White polo you're gonna rock.
Well, I mean, I've got a white. The last time Georgia Tech had a white out, I don't remember. I bought like a Georgia Tech little. It's not a pullover. It's just like a long sleeve. But of course, we went to the varsity to eat, and you know what happens with white shirts. It was mustard city before we could even get to the game. So, that's what always happens with the white stuff with me. Food immediately gets on there. Let me shave first before we go shirtless in the press box.
Maybe some people bear hunting.
That might get me kicked out of the press box for the first time. There's a question on here about.
That's a good story for another day. I'll tell a story about when they had to kick some. I've seen 2 people kicked out of the press box during my time covering Georgia Tech. They're both really good stories. That'll be for maybe that's like an off-season day. I'll tell those. If you guys remind me, like during the off-season, I'll tell those 2 stories. One of them involves like somebody a lot of Georgia Tech fans know too, which is pretty entertaining. I don't even think I've told Alex that story. So
Okay. There's a question about the center. Do you think Tana at center and Moore at left guard will be the combo moving forward? I think eventually they're going to settle into something because I don't think that 3-man rotation is going to happen all year. So
yeah, I think we're moving towards Moore and Tana, but Joe could rebound and do well, or they could end up with Kevin P or somebody playing left guard. Tana's been the better of the two centers so far this season, but we're still early in the thing. Will's still waiting on the Paul Johnson interview. Yeah, I got to do that at some point. It's just been hard. Ian wants to know how many Zens does Brent go through the sideline. That's a good question. He would be able to tell me exactly. He knows. My favorite question always to ask him is after they win one of these games. He wears an iWatch a lot of the time. Is like, what did the watch register? Like, what was your highest heart rate during the game? Because he'll know. He'll be like, yeah, I got an alert. It was like 188 or whatever it was. Like the Miami game when Romello stripped Cam Ward. Like that was the one where that really popped out. It's like, how many times did your like watch heart alert go off during the game?
let's see here. There's a question about the turnovers. What are we going to do to start forcing turnovers? Why haven't we seen improvement in any of
Oh,
that?
forcing turnovers?
Yeah, and seen
They
any
haven't
improvement in
played a
that?
lot of defensive snaps. They played. How many did they play on Saturday? They played. Oh, I guess they played 79. Holy cow! I didn't realize that's because they were scoring so fast. They had multiple like 5 plays or less scoring drives in the game. They had one takeaway on Saturday. Uh,
I mean, can't they had the fumble recovery, but they also had the block kick return, so that didn't count as a turnover. But
Dude, Brett threw a Zen pouch across the field. That's awesome. He was so mad about the Will Kiker getting his 2-point safety thing or whatever conversion taken away. I was as mad as I've seen him all season. He was so pissed about that.
let's see here.
I don't remember what. So Clemson has a new DC. They're playing with Tom Allen now. So I watched a little bit of the LSU game, and then I was looking, I think, on Alex's laptop while I was watching some of the Troy Clemson game during the weather delay. So I have no idea what they're doing. He runs basically what was is a he's running they ran kind of like a 3-3-5 at some of his other stops. I don't know if they're doing that this year. I haven't actually. We'll start to watch Clemson this week. Is I guess more of my point. Um, so that's my honest. We've just been working, so their games haven't been lined up in a time where I could watch them. Like I said, I watched a little bit of LSU and Clemson, but that was it.
I watched most of that second half LSU game. I know that they kind of picked on one of the cornerbacks that was playing man. That's one of those touchdowns LSU scored. They just kind of threw it up to
Well, they threw
their
up to
big
like a
guy.
6'7"
Yeah,
guy that was like ridiculous, like some ridiculous dude they found in like the backcountry of Louisiana. He's like 6'7", like 185-pound dude. They just threw him a jump ball and he jumped over that poor guy and like caught the ball. That was that was it may have been their last touchdown LSU had in the game. I saw that one. Felt bad for that kid. That was not a winning situation for him.
no. There's a question about Malik going into the tent during the game. One point, is there anything to be worried about? I think if we were going to be worried, he wouldn't. He would.
They wouldn't have played him at all in
Yeah.
that game if they were that worried about Malik.
I mean,
Like that's not a game where you put him in.
he played pretty much full go yesterday. Like I didn't see anything that was holding him back. He made several third. I think he had 2 or 3 third down conversions. Follows. That's kind of his guy on third downs.
Yeah, he played 13 snaps, had like 5 targets and 4 catches, had 6 targets and 5 catches. I think was the stat. Yeah, they made the most of when Malik was in the game. He was very good. Yeah, that kid is a basketball player. Will's right. I've read that about him too. The LSU kid I'm talking about. It'd be like if you took Wasey and made him like a receiver. Like that would be a kind of a tough matchup.
Yeah, Malik had 6 targets, 5 catches, 62 yards,
13 snaps.
29 yards after catch. I mean, they had 11 different receivers yesterday, I think.
They had 11 different guys catch balls from Philo. And then the one other one that caught the one pass from Knowles was the guy, Dean Patterson, who caught another pass already. So yeah,
Yeah.
that was funny. Philo was surprised when I told him that they had thrown to 11 different guys in the game. But they did a good job of spreading it out, and like everybody got touches. And they had one guy who had a target who didn't have a catch, which was JT Byrne. But other than that, I'm trying to think who they didn't throw to. DeBron Gatling, I think, was like the only him and maybe Beetham were the only two that didn't get like a target that played on the skill side or didn't touch the ball.
Here's a question you might know more than me about. Has Coach Bohannon had an impact on offense? He's been working with running backs, right? I'm pretty
Who's
sure
that?
that's
Bohannon?
yeah,
Yeah,
Bohannon.
Brian's been working with Coach McKenzie, the running backs, and he's around them all the time. And then on game days, he's involved with just helping out Coach K as he needs it. I bumped into Brian before the game and asked him how weird it was being back in the stadium again, only on the Tech side, because he coached a game Tech played against Kennesaw State a few years ago. But he says it was funny to be back. And then they immediately, him and another one of his former assistants, like met up. And then that was like right before the weather delay. And they were like blaming each other for the bad weather. Because apparently they used to have a lot of weather delays up at Kennesaw State.
There's a question on here about Will Reed not getting much playing time. I guess he was a summer guy, so he wasn't here in the spring, and I don't
He's
guess
sort
he
of
ever
a,
got caught
he's a,
up.
what they did in the portal, some of that was like taking guys for depth and to see if they could make the two deep. And he's in the two deep, but he's behind Keelan Rutledge right now. So playing right guard, moved inside from right tackle, and you're not going to play much with Keelan Rutledge there and healthy. And then Peyton Joseph's right behind him. They've done some move Peyton around a little bit too. So it'll be interesting to see if Will plays more as the season goes on. He's a big boy. But they're in a different situation than they were a few years ago, where they were just taking guys out of the portal, plugging them straight in as starters. So I don't know.
Here's a question way lower on the toward the end. It says, since we reply sometimes in the game thread, do we ever show any of the more funny unhinged posts to the other media members in the booth for a laugh?
Oh, I've shared stuff
Yeah.
before. People like coaches, all sorts of. The last one I remember sharing was sharing with the suggestion to sell the Eric Rivers jersey last week. Someone was like, "Oh, you should auction this off." And believe it, I sent it off to people who could make that happen, and they got a kick out of that idea. So that might happen.
I got a
Oh, Charles is in here throwing daggers at Belichick. Oh my!
they I listened to a little bit of that game on the way home too. They covered, but they did not they didn't look very good again apparently.
Wasn't it like 21-3 or something? Like it was a weird
It
score. Like
was 17-3 for a long. I think they might have kicked a field goal in the fourth quarter. It was, I don't know.
his line was what, 17 and a half or something like that for the game.
I think we did it at 14 for the pick'em. If that's
Maybe it was 14. That's yeah, it says a lot about where Belichick is, that there was concern that they would cover the 14 against Charlotte on the road with Charlotte with a brand new coach.
He made it very clear in his post-game press conference. Somebody asked him about the not allowing Patriot scouts, and he pretty much said, "Well, I'm not welcome there, so they're not welcome here." That
Turned off his key card, man. He was pissed.
Yeah, so
no love lost from great Bill Belichick. It's all right. He has his squeeze to soak away any tears at night over that. Here's the question. I was wondering what was going to happen, Ken, with the Fran Brown question about the sprints before going to the locker room like he's coaching middle school.
It
was a choice. It was a choice that no one else I can think of would do in the age where people mill around the stadium, their social media, and everything's on TV.
That was the choice. That was the choice, though. He knew it was going to get he knew it was going to get videoed and shared, and
yeah, I feel like it was performative.
Yeah.
But hey, if you were really they didn't really run hard. The other thing, if you watch it, like I would have been cursed out by any even a peewee coach for running a sprints like that. So it was just stupid is what it was. I don't know. He can be offended by me saying that. Even Jeff Collins thought it was dumb.
Clip it, Fran Brown. That's the motivation right there.
He's having to go to me to motivation. They got deeper problems than the
I was looking at
hills of Syracuse.
I was looking at the ACC schedule for this coming week. I hadn't really. I'll have to get it together for our pick 'em at, and really didn't dove into it very much. I think North Carolina played NC State and Wake on Thursday. South Florida, another chance at a big win.
The chat's going off about Fran Brown. That's great. Yeah, my boys at South Florida are headed down to play Miami this week. What was funny is one of my friends on the staff there called me this week and was like, "Oh, I think we're beating Florida." They never say stuff like this. And I was like, "Really?" He goes, "Oh yeah." He's like, "We think we got this." And I was like, "Okay." And they went out and did it. So
I saw the video of the assistant coaches coming down from the box and celebrating in the Florida coach's face. I think one of them was what's his name? Georgia Tech defensive lineman that coaches there.
Kyle Henderson.
I'm pretty sure he was one of them, but they, can't do anything. They pretty big
win
win.
The game, man. Y'all are at home with a favorite, the expensive roster, win that. So you got the backyard brawl. You got South Florida, Miami. Duke at Tulane could be interesting because Duke hasn't looked very good so far. Are you going to bring ourselves to watch Minnesota at Cal? The Boston College Stanford game is going to be awful. Stanford's maybe the worst ACC team I've seen in a really long time right now.
I didn't watch.
They would get smoked by a Jeff Collins Georgia Tech team. That's how bad that Stanford team is.
I watched their game against Hawaii and it was pretty ugly. I didn't watch the one last night. I don't know what that final BYU final was. Pretty bad.
I just remember they threw a screen pass in the end zone that was a safety. They were coming out of their own end zone.
Yeah, 27-3 final.
They bungled I think it was they bungled something and they ended up at the 1. They ran back into the line of scrimmage, barely got that, and then they threw a screen 2 yards into the end zone, and the dude got, of course, drilled for a safety. And I was like, "What are you doing?" I think BYU just wanted to get the hell out of there, be done with it.
27-3 final. Yeah, Stanford Boston College that'll be
Cal nice. Guy can coach, by the way.
Yeah,
that's not an easy. But yeah, this is the year everyone's like, I wish we had Stanford. Everyone in AC's like, I wish we had Stanford on our schedule, even if it's there. Like, they just want to play them because they're so bad. So yeah, it's a little bit of a snoozer, other than the Tech Clemson game.
But the
And
SEC,
NC State Wake will be interesting because Wake is barely 2-0, and NC State is not been great so far. This is the games that Homeboy's got to win to keep his job. Dave Dorn.
I was looking at SEC. I don't know why I went back to Big Ten for.
Andrew's saying that the FSU Miami game in Week 6 will be big. Yeah, be big for both those coaches too, where their situations are in terms of their longevity. We don't know what Florida State is yet, too. By the way, like, that's a whole other bag of worms. They look good in one game. We'll see if that carries over, because Gus Malzahn will turn into like Rain Man when he plays, like Rain Man in the casino when he plays Alabama football. Like, he like starts seeing numbers in his head or whatever, like that dude in The Hangover, and he's like going nuts. Like, that's what he turns into whenever he coaches against Alabama. So I would not necessarily like say that FSU's back yet.
A&M at Notre Dame Saturday night too.
Jordan Williams got cut by the Falcons because they signed a bunch of like scrubby offensive linemen and dumped them on this. They've played before that they dumped on their practice squad, is what the board said at the time. I cannot verify that, but that's what the board said.
Falcons, what an adventure today.
Yeah, I enjoyed when you. So Alex, some behind the scenes thing. We have a group text with Mr. Chad Bishop from the HAC. I get this text. I'm sitting here with my son doing something, my youngest son doing something, and I get a series of texts from Alex suggesting headlines for a Falcons win that are all puns on Michael Penix's name, and the Falcons proceed to lose immediately after that. I was like, man, you jinx those dudes. Like,
I don't think they need any of my help doing that. They're pretty good at it.
That's funny. The last thing I said to Ken Segura before he left the press box on Saturday night was we were talking about the Falcons game, because I didn't know they were playing. I really don't follow the NFL that much, and he was like, "Oh, they're playing the Bucks." I was like, "Oh, they got a good shot in that game, right?" He goes, "Yeah, they like beat them last year or whatever." And I was like, It's like, I don't know.
Apparently, the kicker packed up all his stuff and got out of the locker room.
Yeah, I
before
saw
the media.
Liam Klein, or Zach Klein, say that they could not find him. He had dipped out.
I don't think he'll be back for next week. I think we'll be signing a kicker. But I think that's
hopefully next week we'll be back talking about a Georgia Tech win over Clemson. Be good for the program, good for Tech fans. Y'all have been through a lot. I've been through a lot covering the team over the last 11 years since the last time they pulled it off. The last time they pulled it off was the start of the Orange Bowl run with Justin Thomas in 2014. And one of the weirdest games I've ever witnessed in my life that Clemson fans are still angry with me about, because I said on a preview to the Clemson site at the time they were going to play Deshaun Watson, who was banged up. And I said that I would be leery of that because I imagine they're going to go after him early in the game. And if he gets dinged up, they're in a lot of trouble. And then Cole Stout proceeded to spot them, I think, 14 points on pick sixes in that game. And they won. And then since then, it's either been a blowout or like a absolute like dogfight to the end. There's been like one in between game since then. Everything has been pretty intense or really bad. So
I've got you a game, Ken. I was originally going to go to Alatoona this coming week to see a running back that's of our interest to us, but he's not playing this week for certain reasons. So I'm going to be at Calhoun and Cambridge at Calhoun, which is pretty good. What's his name? I'm going blank. Georgia commit that.
Craig Dandridge.
Yeah, Dandridge is going to be playing, and then Calhoun got some pretty good players. Sophomore quarterback I really like a lot. So yeah, I'm probably gonna be at Calhoun and Cambridge this Friday.
Appreciate the update, Will, on your quarterback. That's tough. I just, as long as he can be okay to live his life like normal, that'll be a big thing. Should take it one day at a time, man.
I hadn't heard an update. I know that Bremen quarterback last year that had the spinal thing. I hadn't heard. And last time he was I think he was at the Shepherd Center doing rehab and stuff and getting better. So, yeah, it's tough, man. Football's brutal sometimes.
It's a difficult game. But appreciate everybody for joining us tonight. Hopefully, we will be in a celebratory mood a week from tonight and talking about the revenge of avenging one of the worst losses of the Jeff Collins era with Temple coming to town. But yeah,
Hey,
thanks everybody.
I've got following the future in the morning. It was a good week for the Georgia Tech commits. I want to tell y'all that. Here's a little teaser. Georgia Tech 5 wide receiver commits for 2026. They combined for 8 receiving touchdowns on Friday. So,
Nice.
and then JJ Rom threw for a touchdown too. So, pretty good week for the guys. So yeah, there's some good stuff in there tomorrow. But
Appreciate everybody. We will see you soon.